Hey everybody, we are on page 7 now already. So on the bottom right of my page, I'm going to go ahead and write page 7. So that's out of the way. We'll set this up for Cornell notes. So we draw a line down the side and 2 lines across the top. This little one here. I'm going to put Mr. Will, and the date will be the 7th, so 9/7/21. And we're going to be talking about the geosphere. So let's write geosphere. Geosphere. It might be a good time actually to fill out our table of contents. So our last notes was about feedback. Before that it was systems. And so on our table of contents, our page 1, you should have written table of contents. Okay, so that was page 1 because this is page 1. Systems is on page 3, so I find page 3 and I'm going to write systems. And then on page 5, we have feedback. Now I've gotten a lot of questions about, oh, what about this side? This is where our labs and projects are going to go. So when we do activities, we'll write those over here because those will be on the other side of your notebook. So let's get started on the geosphere. So we need our essential question. So our EQ goes up here in our box that we made. And our EQ is what landforms are found on Earth? Question mark. We're not going to go through every single landform, but we're going to get a couple of them so that we can kind of get an idea of what it means, and we're eventually going to be using those ones in a topographical map, which is actually our first word is topography. 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 We're going to underline that because it's a vocab word. We're going to make our dash, and remember this is our imaginary line. We're not going to put our definition on this side of it. This one's really short, so it doesn't really matter, but topography is just the shape of the land. Shape of the land. So whether it has hills or rivers or mountains or if there's a beach, whatever, that's going to tell us what it looks like. So that's the topography. And that's going to be made up of landforms, which is our next word. Landforms. And R got kind of mixed in with my M. That's okay. Okay. So landforms. So how we're going to define a landform is this combination of relief and elevation. So I'm going to write combo of relief. Not sure if that's how I spell it. It's just I-E. That would make more sense. Whatever. Which is a difference in height and elevation. So we've got relief and then we have elevation. And elevation is just how high above sea level. So landforms, relief is just difference in height. So if it starts off at sea level and it goes up 1,000 feet, well, that's the relief. That's kind of the difference. And then elevation is basically just how high it starts. Because I mean, we could start at 1,000 feet up already, and then have that go up another 1,000 feet. So those are our landforms. We got a lot of different landforms. We're going to name a few of them. And our first one is a mountain. Most of you know what a mountain is. Maybe not how to define it. So a mountain, in our case, is something that has a high elevation. And a higher relief. That looks way better than the first one. So, high elevation, it's going to get really tall, and it's got a high relief. That means it's probably got really steep walls or steep sides of the mountain. Okay, next one is a plateau. Actually, maybe we should draw a picture. Yes, let's draw a picture. So let's just say this is sea level. I'm going to have a mountain. So it's steep, but also very tall. So let's just say this is sea level. And it's just going really high. So it's steep. Okay, so our next one is a plateau. Let's put that down one more. E-A-U, the plateau. So a plateau is going to have a high elevation, meaning it's tall, but it's going to have a flat surface, or like a low, with a plane, maybe, or let's just say with a flat top. I like that. High elevation with a flat top. Let's draw that picture. So we've got our sea level, or just our flat thing to compare to, I guess. And then so we've got this sharp edge, so high elevation, and then we've got our flat, and then it's going to go back down to sea level, or just, wherever the start is. So that's the plateau. High elevation, the flat top. Okay, so that's plateau. Next, we're going to talk about a coastline. All right, so a coastline is just this boundary between the land and the ocean. Or lakes. So if you've ever been to the Great Lakes, you can definitely see that there's that boundary, or even, of the smaller lakes, there's still that boundary between the land and the water. But in these cases, these are much more noticeable. So oceans and those lakes. So that's a coastline. We are going to draw that. And so we now actually have our sea level, and we're going to start up here, and we're going to cut underneath. So now this stuff is underwater. I don't know how we would mark that, by filling it in maybe? I don't know. So this is above ground and this is underground. Kind of makes sense. So that's coastline. Then we have a river, and that drawing got a little bigger than I expected. River, you guys know what a river is. It's a natural stream of water. Isn't stream just another name for river? I don't know. That's just how it works, I guess. So if we're looking at this at a side view like all these other ones, we have kind of this dip, and maybe we have our water table or whatever, or water level right there. So this stuff is all underwater. And so that, water will either flow into that or flow downhill. And our final one is a delta. Not the airplane company, but a delta. It's kind of this cool thing. So at the end of a river, when it kind of goes into these big lakes or oceans, they slow down because they hit this other big thing of water. And that sediment and dirt and clay and whatever they're carrying in the river, it has more of a chance to fall down, and so it kind of collects there. And it makes this really cool feature. So overall, it is a buildup of all that stuff. Buildup of clay and sand and other sediment. I'm just going to say and sediment. Sorry, that was a little rough to read. Sediment as a river's current slows down. All right, we can fit a picture on here, I'm pretty sure. So let's say I have my river kind of like flowing out here. So the river's this way, or it's flowing that way. Then it hits this big body of water and it slows down, and then we've start to get these kind of like little islands to show up. In the path. So, I mean, if I were to fill in the land, I can fill in the land, I suppose. And then these would be land 2. So, this is a delta. But these are just a few landforms. We're going to be using a couple more, but with these few, we're actually going to be drawing examples on the page next door. So go ahead and copy those down, and we'll call it good for today. Thank you.